everybody. Time for another Unmuted with Marsha. And oh my goodness, you're going to enjoy this conversation so very much. It's a familiar face and voice and name to you, Harmeet Dhillon. You see her many times on TV commenting about the issues of the day. But she is such a skilled attorney. She's been named one of the top 100 female attorneys in the country, and she is the principal in the Dhillon Law Firm. So, Harmeet, we are thrilled to have you with us. And I want to jump in and have you talk first about free speech because I really feel like free speech is under attack.
You're absolutely right, Senator, and thank you for inviting me to have this conversation with you. I founded the Center for American Liberty 2 years ago to address this issue of big tech censorship and more broadly, First Amendment rights under attack in our country. And boy, are they ever, from Andy Ngo, who has reported on Antifa and been silenced and attacked by the liberal mainstream media, to all of us citizens, particularly in politics, who want to comment on the issues of the day, and we get deplatformed, blocked, censored, fact-checked, and otherwise have our speech suppressed. And so, it used to be the left, the ACLU and groups like that fought for the right of everybody to speak. And today they've really pivoted to the opposite direction. And it is conservatives who are fighting for the rights of everybody to be heard. And the antidote to speech that you don't like is more speech, but we're seeing the opposite from the Biden administration right out of the gate. And so it's important that we acknowledge this issue and stand up, because if our voices are silenced, or voices even we don't like are silenced today, tomorrow it's going to be a voice that we want to hear that's silenced.
That is correct. And, it's not only big tech, it is big media that is also attacking conservatives. And this week here in DC, actually yesterday and today, we've had some members in the House who have written to cable carriers and to broadcasters saying you should not be carrying Fox or Newsmax or OAN because they give a conservative bent or two sides of the story, and this leads to disruption in society.
This is very dangerous, and I think you're seeing free speech advocates across the political spectrum agree at this time that this is bad. And we saw Brendan Carr, one of our FCC commissioners, come out and condemn this as a chilling effect, because even if Fox, Newsmax, and others are not taken off the air, the message that they're getting is that our government is prepared to step in and censor them and deplatform them and legislate them out of existence if they dare step out of line. Any society, we actually criticize other countries around the world for limiting the free press and for limiting censorship. And yet here in this country, it's become the norm. And indeed, we've seen some of the top nominees for the Department of Justice express the very similar views about the danger of conservative ideas and the danger of media outlets and the danger of the so-called spread of misinformation online. And the implicit threat there is for the government to censor that speech or to threaten companies and force the companies to censor that speech themselves. We can't tolerate this. The First Amendment is the first for a reason. And the founders of this country viewed that as the seminal part of the Bill of Rights. And it is under attack more than any other aspect of the Bill of Rights today, I would say.
Well, I think you're exactly right. And without the First Amendment, the others cease to exist. And we know if they get the First Amendment, then they will go for the Second Amendment and right on down through the Bill of Rights. And it is very dangerous. And with the work that you are doing with the center, what do you think that all of this overreach from the Democrats, this push to silence an opposing view, this cancel culture, what do you think that is saying to the average man and woman who is sitting at home and they're saying, I just want the truth. I just want to know what's really going on.
Well, so lawyers like myself sitting in a very liberal area and with the benefit of the ability to go to court and fight, we're in one category at one end of the extreme. The average man and woman consumer of information and voter is afraid of being fired in their job if they speak up today. They're afraid of being canceled from social media, not able to communicate with their friends and family if they say something that's out of line. And so people are censoring themselves right now. And so it isn't even the government having to do it. The very threats are censoring people's speech. And so we are also seeing when we go into court increasingly with liberal judges who seem unwilling to entertain these core First Amendment values. But right now, we have a great Supreme Court majority. It could change in a moment with a single change on the court. And so what we see really at the bottom, Senator, is that elections matter, because you can have these free speech rights in our enshrined in our Constitution. You can have 2 centuries of legal precedents supporting them. If you don't have judges who enforce and uphold those rights, you don't have those rights. And so all of these things work together. And that is why I focus on the law mainly, but politics is important to achieving the protection of those rights as well.
Indeed it is. And you mentioned you're in a liberal area and you are in California. And one quick question to you on schools, because this has been quite a topic, getting children back in schools. And some of us were on the floor yesterday addressing this. What is the impact that you've seen in California by keeping these schools closed down and these children out of school?
What's interesting about the school closures in California and other liberal states is that it's actually uniting Americans across the political spectrum against our government. And back in July, the Center for American Liberty represented almost 20 citizens suing the government. And they came from different political perspectives, including people who had voted for Governor Newsom here. And we filed a lawsuit seeking the right of students who are disabled, students with special needs, to be educated. This is protected by federal law, as well as minority students who are suffering disproportionately from the shutdown of the schools, because rich parents like the governor have the ability to send their children to private schools or hire private tutors and pods for the wealthy. But the average person, and certainly our citizens who live in inner cities, are being completely denied their right to education. And our governor has even gone into court and said there is no fundamental right to an education, which is actually at odds of a lot of liberals who have argued otherwise in the courts. So you are beginning to see Democrats begin to rally and criticize our governor. And today I saw the mayor of San Jose, who is a Democrat, start pressuring the schools to open. You're seeing the San Francisco School District being sued by our city attorney to open. And so I think it's important that we take note of this. This is a bread and butter issue for Americans. And it is not just about it's not just, I shouldn't say just, but businesses being shut on behalf of adults. Perhaps they can bounce back from that economically. But children don't get a do-over. They're only children once. The education is at a formative time in their lives. And, certainly for my nieces and nephew here in the state who are suffering from the lack of the schooling, parents are choosing to pick up and take their children to other states where they can get educated. So this is having a fundamental impact on everything. Every conversation is beginning to revolve around this. I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see people still haven't lost the value that the children are precious. They must come first, and we must pay attention to this. Otherwise, we're going to have a generation of ignorant students who are not able to get into college, who are not able to enjoy all the fruits of society that our education guarantees us.
And not able to benefit from the freedoms that are still allowed in this country. And I have never seen such a push for school choice as this has generated, with people who want their children to receive an education. So we are watching that issue very closely. Well, you've been generous with your time for today, and people can follow you on Twitter, and it is PNJBAN, correct?
PNJABAN on Twitter.
ABAN. Okay, PNJABAN. So you can find Harmeet there, and you can find me on social media at Marsha Blackburn. Thanks for joining us for Unmuted.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.